Sex is one of those subjects that parents just don't enjoy discussing with their children. On 2 separate occasions, we requested an interview with Field Museum representatives, and both times they refused to meet with us. We gave the Chicago Board of Education a chance to speak for themselves. However, they declined our request for an interview because this case is still pending litigation. The issue of Ebonics has reopened on a national level because Oakland school board members wanted their children to be taught in Black English in order to maintain the culture of Ebonics. On August 14, 1947, India was split in 2 and the nation of Pakistan was formed. And although it's a formally declared Muslim nation, several Christians continue to support their biblical thought, oftentimes becoming modern-day martyrs.
Page 2's Vivian Panou has that story.
The FDA's approval of the abortion drug RU-486 has stirred up more controversy among abortion supporters and opposers.
Planned Parenthood supports RU-486 as an abortion technique. We do know that it has been extensively tested and studied in Europe, and we have quite a bit of data to support our assertion that it is a safe and effective method.
That American data has not even been finalized. The American data is the information that was gathered from testing the drug on 2,100 women in various sites around the country in '95 and '96. That data has not even been finalized. It won't be finalized until the end of '96, if then.
The RU-486 abortion is a 3-step procedure. First, a woman is given RU-486, otherwise known as mifepristone, by her doctor. This will immediately cut off nourishment for the lining of the uterus and the embryo. Then, 48 hours later, she returns to her doctor and is given misoprostol. After that, contractions will begin and the abortion is normally over within 24 hours. The third step is when the patient returns to her doctor to make sure that the abortion is complete. Fear of insufficient data is one reason why pro-life activists are severely against the approval of RU-486. And several complaints from women who have already used the abortion pill method is also a concern. However, supporters of the abortion drug say that bleeding and cramping are the only small side effects and conclude that women are fully aware of any dangers prior to any abortion procedure.
And if we see that there's any indication that they may be ambivalent in any way about the procedure, then we absolutely will not do it.
But pro-life activists believe that there isn't enough information about RU-486 to even offer a woman adequate counseling. In Chicago, Vivian Panou for Page 2. After a 5-month search, Pope John Paul II appointed a new leader for Chicago's 2.3 million Catholics. The man, Francis Eugene George, is a Chicago native, survivor of polio, and believed to be more conservative than the late Joseph Cardinal Bernardine. In his first press conference, he shared with us his wit, eloquence, and desire for spiritual support in both English and Spanish.
The Archbishop, first of all, represents the faith. I don't think any bishop in his right mind would claim to represent every single person who is a member of the church with all the diverse backgrounds and ideas that are around. I'll represent the faith, and in preaching the faith, I'll reach out to all those who are open to being touched by it.
The Archbishop was born to Francis and Julia George on January 16, 1937. He attended St. Paschal's School on Chicago's northwest side. In 1957, Archbishop George entered the missionary oblates of Mary Immaculate. And 6 years later, in 1963, he was ordained a priest at St. Paschal's Church. In 1990, he became Bishop of the Yakima Diocese in Washington. And on May 27th of last year, he was installed as Archbishop of Portland, Oregon. And today he admits that becoming Archbishop of Chicago was an idea he never really thought about.
Surprise, first of all, and I asked the question that has been asked. Are you sure that the Holy Father has considered all the options?
As for church doctrine, it's similar to that of Cardinal Bernardine's. Abortion, homosexuality, and the ordination of women is forbidden.
The faith isn't liberal or conservative. The faith is true. And so I'll preach the faith as Cardinal Bernardine preached it and taught it.
Monsignor Ken Velo believes that Cardinal Bernardine's goal for racial reconciliation and interdenominational communication is also supported by Archbishop George.
I think we have a genuine, caring person who's very concerned about unity, bringing people together.
On May 7th, Francis Eugene George will be installed as the 13th spiritual head of the Chicago Archdiocese. His closing remarks in the press conference were that he will do his best to represent Chicago Catholics. In Chicago, Vivian Panou for Page 2. In 1931, the International Olympics Committee declared Nazi Germany as the host for the 1936 Olympics. But because of Hitler's anti-Semitic views, several nations, including the United States, threatened to boycott the Nazi Olympics. However, in the end, all 49 countries were represented in Berlin, and several Olympic hopefuls were forced to be left behind.
I didn't know what they were going to talk about, except that something about the Olympics. They told us about the terrible things that were going on in Germany. Both Connors and I decided that we would boycott the Olympics. We just felt it was the right thing to do.
Despite opposition from their Harvard track coach, Connors and Green stood firm on their boycott decision. But Marty Glickman and Sam Stoller chose to go for the gold, something they would ultimately regret.
There were a number of American Jewish athletes at the Olympics in track and field. Sam Stoller and Marty Glickman. At the last minute, and we're not sure,
we were called into a meeting. Robertson announced to the 7 of us that he'd heard very strong rumors that the Germans were saving their best sprinters, hiding them to upset the American team in the 400-meter relay. And consequently, Sam Stoller and I would be replaced by Jesse Owens and Ralph Metcalf.
And although blacks were given the right to compete in Berlin, they too were disgraced by Hitler's fascist government.
In fact, he said, it's unfair to have blacks participate because they're not human.
For 16 days, Adolf Hitler tested his powers with the world, and according to Dr. Stein, Nazi Germany taught everyone an unforgettable lesson.
The Berlin Olympics can be looked upon as a major turning point in the appeasement of Hitler and the growth of Nazi power. And by 1936, we were only 3 years away from World War II.
Although it's been an entire 60 years since the Nazi Olympics, many athletes still have the lingering pain of uncertainty and of unfairness.
In the entire history of the modern Olympic Games, now going into its 100th year, no fit American track and field performer has ever not competed in the Olympic Games, except for Sam Stoller and me, the only 2 Jews on the 1936 team.
The 1936 Olympics were by no means loving or peaceful. Should there have been an entire boycott? Maybe. Would that have changed Hitler's final destructive agenda? That's possible. But what historians do agree upon is that the only way to overcome such unfairness is by teaching the ancient meaning of the Olympics and frowning upon the Nazis for turning an exciting event into a lifelong misery. For Page 2, I'm Vivian Panou.